Welcome back to Bammerhab, Season 4, Episode 11. Bammerhab is a podcast about one writer's attempt to dig deeper into God's Word by exploring the Greek and Hebrew words inside it. I'm SDG Morgan, and I'll be your tour guide around this dig. Today's episode is another interview, this time with illustrator and author Noah Snoke, who today chose the Greek phrase deēsei metā eucharistias. And it's from Philippians 4, 6-7, which is, "Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God, and the peace of God, which passes all understanding, will keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus." Deēsei metā eucharistias is the Greek phrase for supplication with thanksgiving. Supplication is a phrase we don't use all that often, and it sounds pretty elevated and special. However, the root word for deēsei is deomai, and it means to beg. That's remarkably unelevated. We all know what begging is. And Paul doesn't just tell us to beg, he says to beg with gratitude. And that word for gratitude is an interesting one. It's eucharistias. This is obviously the root word for Eucharist, and even in modern Greek, it's the root word for their basic word of thank you. Now, Eucharist has two roots, eu, meaning good, in Greek, and charis, meaning grace, from the root word chara, meaning joy and beauty. So, a eucharistias is acknowledging good graces given in your life. That's what thankfulness is. You're seeing the good grace. You're acknowledging it. You're seeing the beauty. So Paul is advising us that we ought to beg God. And begging is kind of an ugly word, but to beg with good grace, kind of a beautiful word, to see the beauty while begging. So we need to beg like begging toddlers, but begging with good grace, like the gratitude of a beggar satisfied, and yet still begging intensely. It's a very odd image, and one that I think Paul fully intends us to wrestle with. On one hand, the begging is like a small toddler loudly begging big, sloppy, desperate tears for his cookie. He wants his cookie. Give me my cookie. On the other hand, it's that same small toddler snuggling peacefully in his mother's lap after getting that cookie and his toy and his blankie and being peaceful and grateful, acknowledging all the good. So we're to be desperate and demanding, and yet satisfied and grateful all at the same time. That's what this phrase is telling us. And according to Paul, in this verse, this is the process where God's peace can guard our hearts like soldiers guarding a fort, whereby we can simultaneously let out all our joy and let out all our grief by begging and rejoicing back and forth, together in the same heart, in the same prayer, at the same time. Deēsei metā eucharistias. Supplication with thanksgiving, or begging with thanksgiving. And again, in Greek, gratitude is eucharistias, and inside that is charis, the Greek word for grace, which means favor, blessing, goodness, and by extension, an attractiveness, something appealing, something beautiful. Beautiful begging. That's how we're to relate to our Father in heaven, and that's how we're to receive that peace that passes all understanding. And that's where I start my conversation with illustrator and author Noah Snoke. But first, a little bit about Noah. Noah Snoke has been drawing since he was a kid, but he only took it seriously during his senior year of high school. In the past few years, he's done many portraits in styles that range from fine art to cartoons and everything in between. Noah has worked on multiple book covers and illustrations for apps and web pages. He's also released 2 of his own children's books titled Sterling's Gift and My Buddy's a Bear, which can be found on Amazon. Link in the show notes. When Noah's not making art, he's probably off playing volleyball. Now, here's my conversation with Noah. Noah, you chose Philippians 4, 6-7. So what do you think is the importance of taking everything to God in prayer?
Boy, so how often do we wait until the world is in chaos or it's a life or death situation to turn to God in prayer? And right. I think as a little kid, do you wait to ask your dad, hey, I need a car, what should I do? No, you're like, hey, Dad, can I have a stick of gum? Hey, Dad, can I play with the hammer? No, son. You know, and it's like,
but I'm begging.
Yes, I need the hammer. I always thought about that. Yeah, we wait until a dire situation, and then we're like, Lord, have mercy. And it's like, what did Israel? They're always like, oh, things are getting bad. Oh, things are getting way worse. Oh, now we're enslaved. It's like, okay, God help. And it's like, dude, why do we wait so long? And
You could have started way earlier.
Yeah, could have started way earlier. But also, it's like, we tend to wait until, like, you don't need a car, you need a house. Like, you're talking big thing is, you're like, God, I need provision here. I need wisdom and direction, getting a house. But we forget about going to the store. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Basic
I think,
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, everything to God in prayer. It's like everything. It's an open communication all day long versus, I'm enslaved in Egypt. Can I have a little help?
Right.
And I think it's been huge in Emma and my life as freshly married and wanting to put together a home and a house. And it's like,
and
sure.
Emma is your wife. Sorry.
Sorry. My wife, Emma, she's amazing and awesome and gorgeous. I get the full package, baby. But, there's a lot of things in life that we, within our budget, within our income, we don't have to think hard about. Like, yeah, sure, I can drop $100 here. I could drop $1,000 for a chair. I wouldn't, but I could. I'm kidding. But It's like everything to God in prayer. But also, the Bible does say, like, 5 or 6 times back to back, you have not because you ask not.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm not going to stroke the prosperity gospel, but there's still a side of that, and not quite as like...
It has something to it that has been obviously exaggerated.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
To the point of being untrue. But there's something that I think they were seeing a vacuum and stepping into it and overdoing it, which,
Yeah. It's like they found something in the Bible, like, this is great. Let me just turn that my angle a little bit. But I still think there's something there in the Bible that will say, requests made known to God, that type of stuff. But yeah, I guess that's more of my answer to that one.
Yeah, building on the idea of toddler. And before the podcast started, my 2 sons were on top of me, literally asking for things from both sides of my ears and demanding it. There's just a total freeness there. They just are like, Daddy, do this, Daddy, do that. Daddy, like, one of my sons is so eager, he like grabs my hands and pulls me, Daddy, go play cars. Daddy, do this. And I think that's sort of what Paul is getting at here. If you can be totally free to beg, because begging is not dignified. I think there's a certain pride level of, I can fix it, God. I can fix it.
Yes.
Okay, I can fix it. Okay, I can fix it. I can't fix it. And then you go when you finally are desperate enough. And Paul's saying, just be desperate at the beginning, like a little kid, but also be grateful. Be grateful like an adult and desperate like a little kid. And that's that weird balance that Paul is always asking, and Jesus is always asking, the idea of, gentle as doves, wise as serpents, where you want both elements. So you want to be as grateful and as content as a very mature older person who just can see it all and can see the scope, and as begging and desperate as a little kid wanting the hammer. Even if maybe the hammer's not the best thing for you, but you can ask. And then trust your dad that maybe the hammer comes later.
Yeah. No, I think that wraps it up nicely in that not being afraid to beg early. Like, it makes me think of my dad used to always tell us this. When someone comes up and asks you, so how did you get where you're at? Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell you, kind of a loser, and God did this, and then God did this, and then I moved here, and then God did this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. So you're asking for what you want to do with your life, and then you're grateful for what God does with your life. And what you're doing with your life right now is, you are an extremely talented artist. I've seen your stuff, and you've worked with me before. I really like it. But you were talking about, okay, so you don't wait to, a life or death health diagnosis. You ask for the little things. So how does your faith interact with your art? You ask God what to draw? Are you interacting, or like as you're drawing? How long a process is it for you to fix these books up, for like Sterling's Gift and My Buddy's a Bear, which are amazing books? If you have little kids in your life, you should check those out. But how do you interact your faith and your artistry?
Good question. Really seeking God for wisdom and direction. Like, God's given me an ability and a skill to be able to draw and to put things from my mind on paper, but it's not a flawless skill. Like, I'm not like a superhero in this zone. I struggle hard in certain areas, and it's like there's a lot of times where I'm working on a project, especially when it comes to like client work, where there's more stress on it, and it's like the first thing I'm doing is just, God, I want to do this to the best of my ability, but I want to do it to the glory of you. And for instance, I just recently got a commission for like a big painting.
Oh, wow. Awesome. And
so, this is going to be a nice big project. But like, first thing out of my mind was, wow, thank you, God. Like, this is amazing. Like, I was literally just praying that morning, and I was like, too often I come to God and I'm like, God, here's my list of things I'm hard or things that are, and I'm like, I want to make my time with God not just a time of bringing everything that I have and everything that's going on, but just praising God at times, like to be grateful. Like, and I think that goes back to our verse at the beginning, everything to God, with thanksgiving, prayer and supplication through thanksgiving, I think is how it goes. And it's like really just spending time. And it was funny that morning I was spending a lot of time just like thanking God for just how amazing he's been to me. And I'm going to rabbit trail for like half a second here, but the one verse in the Bible where it talks about when you're praying, pray expecting God to answer or God to move in a way. And so a practice that me and my wife have been doing sometimes when we're praying about things that are like going on in our life and we need God's direction is sometimes at the end of the prayer, we'll take like a short part of it to just praise God for answering this, for coming through in a way that he needed to. Maybe that's not always the way we want it to work, but taking time to praise him, acknowledging that it's already been taken care of, but then really bathing it in prayer. And I think that's something with the last book that I really was trying to lean into is like, I want to bathe this book in prayer. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to look at it and be like, you really prayed a lot of this? Because I don't see it. But hey.
It's a talking bear. Yeah.
The bear talks. It's a miracle.
The bear talks.
So that's kind of where I'm.
Well, we had bears that did God's bidding in the Bible, right? In Kings, where they all come out.
We're not doing that as a children's book. That might be a little appalling, if you know what I mean.
Although, actually, side note, if you look at the original Hebrew there, it's always translated as young boys. Yeah. So actually, the Hebrew probably should have been translated as young men, more like a gang of teenagers.
I feel better now.
And when they call him baldy, actually, that's what you would say to a leper. So they're basically saying he's a leper. And if you're by Levitical law, he's basically being ganged up by a lot of kids. And if you yell leper at him, you could stone him. So he's basically under threat.
Oh,
so they're saying we could stone you because we don't like you. Under Levitical law, they're calling him a leper, and he's got to get out of the town. And so basically, what he's doing is turning it over to God of like, vengeance is not mine, but the bears will help me. It may not be mine, but I got some bears behind me. So you notice the gang of children is not killed, but they are mauled. These bears teach the teenagers. It's almost like a gang.
That makes
it'd be more akin to a gang. Because otherwise, it seems like these little kids are playing a kids game, and God's like, no, you didn't just call my servant Baldy.
I'm picturing merry-go-rounds.
I'm very sensitive about my hairline.
I'm picturing like merry-go-rounds and small toddlers being like, "Hey, he's bald," and it's like, "Raw," and I'm like, "Careful what you say."
Maybe I don't know, but that. The Hebrew suggests much more likely that it's a gang of ruffians who get their comeuppance but don't die from it. But they learn better than to threaten prophets again.
I'm sure that was an appalling experience for them.
You notice Elisha does nothing. He doesn't harm them, but the bears do.
Which I always thought was interesting because you look at Elijah versus Elisha, and Elisha is sitting on top of the mountain and be like, "Scorch, you're dead, scorch, you're dead, scorch, you're dead," and Elisha saw that, and I almost wonder if, not hearing the full, behind the scenes look of it,
right?
I'm thinking like Elisha was just given double what Elisha had, and now he hasn't quite put together that God's going to uphold his word. And so it's like, I almost always thought it as the kids are like, "Yeah, Baldy," and he's like, "You guys are jerks," and he's like, "Raw," and he's like, "Oh, I forgot how potent this is." But you realize like Elisha never really calls fire down on anybody, and you're like, timid,
and again, in each situation, it is life or death, because the soldiers come up to
of
Elijah, and angry soldiers from an angry king are not probably gentle or not real happy.
It was justified for sure.
So it was life or death, but the last one comes up very humbly and is like, "Don't kill me," and Elijah's not bloodlust, but it's like, if it's you or me, buddy, then God's got a calling on me.
I don't see a calling on your life, buddy.
Yeah. Elijah was very forceful.
I like it.
So I like that rabbit trail. Quick note, this incident of Elisha, the bears, and the gang of young thugs that Noah and I are referring to is found in 2 Kings 2:23 through 24. The occurrence of Elijah calling down fire in self-defense is found a chapter earlier in 2 Kings 1:10. So you said that you started really young, but you didn't think of it seriously until high school. But could you trace for me like the roots of how you got into illustration? Was it just crayons as a kid, or were you just always talented at it? Or how did you notice the talent? How did you build on it? Where did it come from?
Yeah, so my dad's dad was really into art, never trained anything like that.
Okay.
But he loved just messing around. He was a very creative person. My dad then kind of took that and was really into, he loved cartooning as a kid. He went to like a community college for art for a little while and realized actual art people are mentally unstable. He left that. He was too ADD for it. So there's like a bit of an art vibe going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came along, and, we had like those draw by 50 books, like where you like start out with like a bean shape and you had another circle and then connect it. It's a horse's head.
Right, yeah.
I used to look at those and I was like, well, that's dumb. I just want to draw the final picture. And so I just look at the final picture and just, follow one line. And I'd put it up. And so my dad's like, oh, okay, you actually kind of have like a natural eye for being able to see this type of stuff. And so
you're skipping the steps because they're already in your
which
head, right?
I wish I would have not skipped the steps, because that's how I draw now, is like circle and let's add a line here and that's an arm. But he saw that and he's like, awesome. And so he went and got his woodworking book and pulls out, and they have the thing where it's like the chair's pulled apart and there's the screws and everything. He's like, draw this now. Because my dad's thinking like, people make big money back in the day doing that. Of course, that's been replaced by a click of a mouse. Well, a couple clicks. And so not a job there, but at least early on, Dad would give me that. And it was, praise. Hey, I want to get more praise. Let's do this. So I would mess around with furniture drawings every now and then. And I think that actually kind of gave me a natural feel for perspective, although I'm still no scholar at it by far. But it gave me a natural eye to kind of be able to see that and how things disappear in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So, I kind of messed around with that a lot. Another thing I used to do a lot was, once my dad had gotten from the library like an art of Disney, like Donald Ducks, just an art of Donald Ducks. And man, I had all over my wall, like I would just find a page like this Donald Duck and I would draw it out and then I'd stick it on the wall. And I used to do this all the time. That and like Calvin and Hobbes.
So your walls all filled with
Donald Ducks being angry and trying to punch people. Simple, happy thoughts.
What else does he do, right?
But
my sons just discovered Donald Duck, and they laugh and they laugh. They think he is so funny.
Donald Duck is legend.
Little boys and Donald Duck, something about it.
But also, Donald Duck has to be with somebody. Donald Duck against the world is annoying. Donald Duck with somebody fighting, like Chip and Dale, gold.
Yes,
yeah,
that's the best thing. When he totally deserves it, because it feels bad sometimes when like the world is ganging up on him, or like what's the one where he puts the rubber cement in?
Yes,
it's like, well, that's just unfortunate, but like when he totally deserves it, and he's a jerk first, and it's like it's much more enjoyable to watch him get his comeuppance of like he taunts Chip and Dale, and then he gets his comeuppance
all day long, all time.
Okay,
this is all-time favorite Donald Duck and Chip and Dale one. Is called Out of Scale, and it's where Donald Duck is making a miniature train set, and Chip and Dale invade it.
Oh, I've seen that one,
and they have the little house. For some reason, my kid brain is like little house, little people for the little house. When I was a kid, that was the most fascinating thing to me. In fact, that's kind of where my brain goes when I'm trying to create children's books, right? Or these stories, as I'm thinking, I'm like, what was the thing that just fascinated me with either children's books or cartoons or movies? And it was always like, either kids taking on full-on gangsters and winning, or it was like little things for smaller people, or for kids, like the little pedal cars that are just big enough and can be powered by them, but adults, it wouldn't work. I'm just like, and so it's like, that's where my brain's, that's where my brain's going for like some of these stories that I'm thinking of next. Like I have like a notes page full. I'm trying to put stuff down where I'm like, what could be the next kids book that's like out of scale type of mindset? But there's a rabbit trail for you.
So how many projects do you have running simultaneously? Because it sounds like you got portraits and you've got books and you've got a whole list. I know I have several digital lists of all these ideas constantly, but I can only do 2 or 3 projects at a time, or my brain gets overloaded. But how many can you do?
I'm generally doing one at a time, but I'm always starting one and then leaving another one and then coming back to it. But if it's like a book, I try and focus purely on that while I'm working on it, because I have my way of thinking about art really, when I first started, leans highly towards what they call alla prima, which in the painting world would be all in one go, like wet into wet. Like I'm sitting there in one sitting and I'm painting. I got to ride off my steam when I get it. And so I try and like hit things hard and try and just motor through them, which I've experienced more as I've gone on, that I get burnout quicker from doing that. And so I'm learning now to, while I'm working on a main project, not be afraid to have a day or so where I'm like, I'm not actually going to work on it. And I may goof off, or I actually may I want to do a Wile E. Coyote background painting and just for the fun of it. And so I'm sitting down and I'm like, let's just draw a Wile E. Coyote background because that just is going to look good in my office. So, yeah, so
inspiration.
I will, if you look at my sketchbook, it looks like I have a ton of things going on because my sketchbook is...
Yeah, your Instagram. Everybody should sign up for your Instagram. But you seem to have all these different irons in the fire simultaneously, but I guess that's your sketchbook?
Yeah, so if you'll see like more pen drawings with ink and stuff like that, or like pencils and stuff like that, that's going to be sketchbook. If you see anything colored, and I've thought that out, but all of it's thought out in my sketchbook. Like my sketchbook is totally unsacred to me. Like I'm not afraid to rip a page out and make a paper airplane. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll scribble on page and be like, that's stupid. Like a lot of people like to see their sketchbook as another way to store art. Yeah, and I'm like, sure, you actually may look at it and think this is a book of art, but it's really just my brain. And like I could pull up, I don't have one with me right now, but I could pull up and show you like me trying to figure out a story, and it's like writing here, writing this way, and then like here's a doodle of a car because I feel like this car would look good in this story, and I'm like, and I've learned that actually really helps me get my thoughts out.
Right.
And it looks like I'm doing a ton of irons in the fire, and maybe I am, and I just don't think I am. But I'm a one-track mind person, and so like the little comic strips that I'm doing, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not, whatever I was working on, pause that for a minute, sit down, I'm just going to figure this out to the end. If it's like a longer process, I don't mind pausing a longer one, but yeah.
No, I totally get that. We have a similar thing in the writing world where, like, have you heard of plotter or pantser?
No, but I used to get it when I was a kid. Oh, that's something different.
So plotter is someone who thinks out the whole plot in advance and stretches it out and writes like all these diagrams and then begins writing.
Okay.
Pantser goes by the seat of their pants of like, I'm doing this, oh, and this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened.
Okay.
And it's just sort of the way your brain works. Is it more structural and must have the structure before it begins, or is it driven by inspiration of like, okay, I gotta go? I tend to lean more pantser, but as I've written, when I started writing, I was always writing, because if I start to organize too much, my brain gets overloaded and I stop. I never start.
Oh, okay.
So you kind of have to have a mixture of both. You need the organization a bit, but I found as I've learned a little bit of elements of plotter, it helps my pantserness because I tend to go like you. Like when I have the steam, I got to get this out. Otherwise I lose it and the trail goes cold. And it literally, I'll sit there and look at a chapter like, this is really good, but I have no idea where I was or what I was thinking. And it's dry, it's cold.
Yeah.
I can't continue this line of thought because I lost it. So I think we all have our natural instincts of how our brain works. You sound like you're closer to me, but as you grow as an artist, I'm like, I need a little bit of this. I need a little bit of that. I'm never going to be a plotter. I can't do it. It stifles the creativity in me. But I've seen a lot of people where it actually blossoms all their creativity and makes them better artists. So it's just different brains for different things. Actually, you're talking about it. I totally get this because I did an MFA, but how your dad said that the artistry world flustered him because of the immense degree of, say, ego and
plain stupidness.
But then have you come across Diana Gleyer's great book called Bandersnatch?
You could probably name a book and I'd say no. I am like the furthest from a reader.
So this you might like as an artist because she's basically talking about how artists are always much healthier if they're in communities.
That makes sense.
A healthy artist is an artist in community. A solo artist is either driven by pride, ego, or like trauma, or they're not healthy. They're not doing well. And how you look at she focuses in on the Inklings with C.S. Lewis, Tolkien, and all the other Inklings who, Charles Williams. And she talks about how they inspired each other, how they worked better as a team, how they had this little artist community. And so it's an interesting idea, especially from a Christian perspective of God made people together in community, and artists tend to be, they have their own vision, they have their own march into the beat of a different drummer. But if you can get it together and then they can sort of, suppress ego, man, they can make better art and they can feel healthier at it.
Boy, that might be a spot on weekend where it's like, I couldn't name off of you other than maybe my wife has a creative side to her. She used to do like watercolor.
She definitely does.
Yeah,
I know that.
But it's like, other than that, I'm kind of a lone wolf and I don't really have a creative community. And I have within my...
Well, it sounds like you have your dad and you have a creative lineage.
So my dad is definitely someone I lean in when it comes to some creative insight because storytelling, my dad was off the charts when we were a kid. He used to tell us all these stories about brothers. And, this is where we get like, brothers versus like invaders from, the city trying, like they're in the country and like they're trying to break into their house and they're making like weird mechanics. And he used to tell these on the spot to us all the time. And
so he's got a natural creative bent there. Sounds like Home Alone.
Oh, dude. So he used to, this is his
Home Alone from the country.
Oh, dude, this is exactly what it was before Home Alone was. I don't even know if my dad knew what Home Alone was, but he used to do this thing and we didn't realize it until years later, but he'd be reading us a book because, every now and then he'd like to read us a more like Christian book of like, a faith journey or something like that. So we used to listen to, like, he used to read us books from like Azusa Street back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Those were so good. A bunch of other like very good biblical stories of heroes in the past, I guess we'll say. Not biblical stories, but heroes, biblical heroes.
Faith heroes. Like,
that's what I'm looking for. But he used to do this thing, like he was reading about, what was it called? Papa Was a Preacher, I think was reading the book to us. And he's going through it. And about a couple nights in, we started realizing that they're now on an island and they found an underground base. And there's like these guys who were hunting down illegal something and they ended up running into him. So now they're trying to escape from them and they're going through this underground system in an island. And we all of a sudden have to stop. My mom walks by. We didn't even realize it, right? My mom walks by and goes, "What are you reading?" And he goes, "This." And he flips up and she goes, "That is not the book." And so my dad, he got bored with where the story was going, and he
made it up.
that as he would flip pages, he would see something and be like, "Oh, let's just build off of that, and let's build this." And it's like,
here's what should have happened.
And I'm like, underground bases with submarines coming out. I'm like, I was like, that does make sense. Why would they be stuck here? They're not really doing missionary work here, more like missile work.
He's punching it up a little bit.
He's pulling up Elisha moment here.
Yeah.
Lightning, rocket.
You mean all missionaries didn't have trained bears that charged after people?
I thought that was biblical. I was training mine in the back.
It is in the Bible. That's right.
But yeah, I would say, when it comes to that type of community, I do have that because I will lean on my dad. I'll come to him and be like, "What do you think?" And he goes, "Nah, bro, we should have it go." And he just goes off and you're like, "Write it down." And he's like, "Nah," and just walks off. But then if I want to bring it to the opposite side, I can go ask my younger brother and he'll be like, "This doesn't make sense here. And I think if you were to do this," and I'm like, "You're right. This is stupid." But he also has an imaginative side too. So like, there's a couple people I can bounce it off.
So he's more of a plotter where he's more rational. Like some people can get creativity from their rational side. Some people have to have creativity from their creative side.
Dad is an unhinged creative nut. Don't let him read children's books to your kids because if they're boring or he's read it too many times, the story will morph real quick.
I love that. Seems like Princess Bride with the grandfather.
Oh, it's straight up. In fact, I wish he'd read me stories now, but I get it. I'm married.
Well, your son.
I'm already prepping my brain. Let's go.
So, let's see. You said that in high school you started taking your art more seriously. What happened there? Why did you start thinking of it as a career?
Yeah, so I don't know if I ever thought of it as a career. I just thought of it as something I can do more. I've always been afraid of making a career. Right. There's a really big fear that I battle with because it's like jumping into that is scary. Mm-hmm. Because it's just like sink or swim, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like very unstable. I like the reliability of clocking in and clocking out and not having to worry about it.
Right.
But what changed it for me around high school. I almost said high school. It was a chilling time.
High school. That's right.
I got an iPad, and I was able to do digital art on there. With the Apple Pencil Wave.
Oh, right, yeah.
It helped me spread my wings without fear of wasting paint or that we're at the click of a finger. But that really opened my eyes. I didn't start bringing traditional stuff out until I was at like an old train station that someone had turned into like an old store, and I'm walking around with my mom because I was learning to drive and had to go where she wanted to go if you wanted to drive. So I'm looking up at the wall and I'm like, look at this painting, and I'm like, dude, that's like so simple. Like it's just like green, darker green, lighter green, bush, next thing. And I'm like, I could do that. I said to my mom's like, well, you have paints that we got you. And I was like, okay. So I went home, found a picture that I liked, and just started, hold on, this works. Okay, and I started like trying to draw my siblings. Mm-hmm. It got addicting when you would go to draw someone's face and all of a sudden you're like, it's not perfect. And maybe one eye is lower on their head than the other eye.
Picasso, right?
Yeah, it's like, I see my sister in that. And then it's like, hunting that down is what really hooked me on art. Drawing people's faces. And then from there, it's like, well, how do I simplify it? How do I draw people from my imagination? And it's like looking at muscles and learning these muscles so that I can draw them enough so that when I look at it and I draw a stick figure, I can add the muscles to it.
Right.
And then from there, it's gone to the point now where I'm just like, square, this, put a line together, circle. Okay, now I can turn into a human. I'm good.
Okay, that's cool. So portraiture was your entryway into thinking of this as more than just a hobby, I guess.
Yeah.
As a side hustle rather than a hobby.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
And where's your day job?
My day job, I work with a company called Surface Experts, which is a true answer to prayer. Right before we got married, I had lost my job at a wood company. I got this job, and I wasn't even really looking for it. My mom's like, "Hey, I heard about this. It's a creative job." And I was like, "Is it though?" The guy, I kind of half-heartedly applied for it, and the guy calls me out of the blue. There's other things that I'd prayed. I told Emma, my wife, I was like, let's pray bold.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's not be afraid, because too many times we pray where it's like, God, if you could aim me somewhere towards northwest. You know what I'm saying?
Very precise.
More precise in a way that like God can answer in a way that people can see.
Right.
And
that'd be more of the supplication side, bring it full circle of like, that's the begging of like, little kids are not shy about, I want that hammer right there, right now. And then it's like, well, how about this cookie instead?
And they're like, I'll hammer it with the no. Yeah, and so it's like being specific is something my dad used to teach us. And he would say, write your prayer requests down so that you can look back on it in the day and be like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize it, but God answered to the T. But anyways, this job showed up and the guy called me out of the blue while I'm sitting there drawing. And it was such an answer to prayer where it's like, I went in and it was like, and I get to wear Crocs to work. Unless I'm on a construction site, then I have to wear boots. I get it. But 90% of the time, safety, I'm rocking Crocs and socks, baby. It would be bare feet, but that's just weird for people's apartments I'm going in. So yeah, I do a lot of spot repair and like tubs, countertops. My favorite thing to do is you get like those fake laminate counters that look like marble, and someone with their cigarette butt burn a hole through it. And so you're like, yes, and you scrape it out and you fill it, and then you get your paints that are like actually like, I can't think of it, gel coat. They're basically like gel coat. Okay. So very hard paints. And I get to mix my colors and paint it in and like
you're like artistry, there you go.
Yeah, like you never knew there was a chip in this counter. It looks like a perfect marble. The texture's not right, but so that's what I do now, and it was an answer to prayer in that aspect.
Awesome. Yeah, it definitely seems to be fitting your skill set. That is a definite answer to prayer.
Oh yeah.
So let's take a slight detour here. What are some artists who make you want to create art? Other artists that you see? Sounds like your dad, definitely. But other artists that are more famous artists or artists on Instagram who nobody knows, or what, living or dead, which artists do you see who just really inspire you?
Boy. So living, I would lean into people like Jake Parker. He's big into like illustration. He's done some comics. I think he did like a Rocket Raccoon comic. It was pretty good. But he's very highly influenced by Bill Watterson, which is Calvin and Hobbes.
Legend.
And so Calvin and Hobbes, another guy that I used to look at the comics, and that was a huge inspiration for like the illustration side. There's a handful of other guys like Marco Bucci. He's a more modern guy that has a very painterly style. Watching a lot of his stuff is where I learned color. But he'll do children's books in like an outrageously gorgeous painterly style. And then probably dead artists, I really, really love the guy who taught Norman Rockwell, J.C. Leyendecker.
Okay.
Leans hard into shape and design.
So like an N.C. Wyeth type guy, or?
No, he's very similar to Norman Rockwell. Very similar.
So it was like Rockwell's mentor?
It was actually Rockwell's mentor. But I do like N.C. Wyeth. Like, that guy is good. I love his stuff. I really like, for certain things, I really love John Singer Sargent. Looking at his watercolor and stuff like that, I see that and I'm like, let me go get my watercolors and see if I can do this. Because like, just how subtly he's able to create detail.
Yeah.
And allude to things, and that's something I strive to in some of my art, is like alluding to details without giving you all the details, enough that makes your mind think and work. But I'm not going to lay the full thing out for you. Like I see the guys that paint needles in pine trees, and I'm like, sorry, I mean, hats off to you. But one of my first really they call what they call master studies. One of the early things I wanted to master study was studying the Calvin and Hobbes, Bill Watterson, his classic drawing of them going down the hill in the wheelbarrow with the grass. And so I have that, and I told my wife, I was like, let's put this in the baby room, man. That was a learning lesson, just copying one of his. I used to draw his stuff all the time, though.
That's awesome, because I put in my son's room as a baby, the classic drawing of the T-Rex flying the F-16.
Oh,
yeah.
dude.
I was like, this is what I want my baby room. He wants a T-Rex in an F-16.
Dude, anytime. I just recently bought the Sunday specials.
Yeah.
Full color panels. And so I bought a book from him, and it actually has a full 10-page comic at the beginning.
Oh, wow.
You can still see the watercoloring marks. Ugh. I still haven't gone all the way through that because I'm savoring this, and I don't like to savor things.
There you go. We're going to take it all the way circle. That's gratitude, like eucharistos, right? You're savoring it like, this is so good.
Yeah.
I am so appreciating. I mean, that's a perfect thing for art, of like you are both striving after it and you're savoring it at the same time. So bring that full circle.
Look at that.
Supplication and gratitude. You're both after it and you're like hunting it, and then you're also just enjoying it at the same time.
Yeah. In a nutshell, yeah. I didn't think of it that way, but you're right. Wow, I'm doing pretty good.
You did well. Amazing. I'm loving this interview. So we're going to wrap up with 4 quick questions. What's your favorite book?
So favorite like novel?
And it doesn't count your books. You can't count Sterling's
I know.
Gift
It's okay. They're somewhere up there, but I think there's other books that are higher for me still. No, I'm kidding. I'm striving. Favorite book growing up as a kid reading was like Daniel Boone as a youth. I read that book cover to cover.
Do you know who is it by?
No, but it's like
just like a kid's biography.
It's not a kid's biography. It's more about him before he became the legend.
Right.
It was called, I think, The Childhood of Daniel Boone. I love the outdoorsy, trappy, hunty, even though I'm not much of one anymore. But I love the concept of that. Yeah. I would say that book when I was a kid, and then of course Tarzan. I listened to that. But modern times and like ones I love art of books, dude. Getting the art of book of Tangled or Zootopia, gold,
yeah,
gold.
All right. And what is your favorite movie?
Now you've tapped my home country. Probably one of my all-time favorite movies would be Swiss Van Robinson, hands down.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
that's a great movie.
Because you get the kid action, you get jungle. I love Treehouse all day long. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. That or like the Davy Crockett from like Disney. I would.
Oh yeah, those are good movies.
I would leave it right there.
And what is your favorite tree?
Oh, this is very good. Oh, I love this. It would either be some sort of like redwood type tree, or it would be
like a sequoia, or like a
something like a sequoia. It doesn't have to be a sequoia. I love
one of the redwoods.
The design of a pine tree with a not gray bark. Like sometimes you look at pine trees and they look almost purple. And I love that subtle shift in color. That might be one of my favorite trees. But pretty much any tree that grows in California, probably up there, dude. Like, what's the eucalyptus?
Oh, I love eucalyptus.
Seeing those trees, I'm like inspired every time.
And your favorite place? It can be a region, it can be an area, it can be a city.
Honestly, as much as liberal as California is, I really enjoyed going up there and hanging out and visiting and seeing the landscape, like just the diversity. 1 minute I'm on the shoreline. I would never live there. I can't put up.
My family's all from there. I'm originally born in San Francisco, but yeah, it's hard to move back.
Yeah, it's absolute chaos. But it's so beautiful. Like I'm like everything there I was enamored with, like visually.
Beautiful.
Going to the mountains and I'm like looking at these mountains and I'm like wanting to stop on the side of like a highway that's going through like those rolling hills and boulders popping out everywhere, and I was just like, as I'm driving, like I'll paint that later. I'll paint that. Fun fact, that's actually where a lot of my paintings come from.
Oh, really? All from photography?
I'll see something and I'm like, oh, and it may not be perfect, but it's enough to make sense
to inspire that. Yeah, that's cool. Because you were there, but you just didn't have a chance to sit there, right?
To touch it.
Right. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you for interviewing with us today, and I really appreciate your choice of verse and just the chance to talk art. Sounds like we're on a similar wavelength for a lot of things, but
let's go.
Thank you, Noah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
If you feel so led, you can support Noah's work not only by checking out his books, but by suggesting them to your friends. They're especially great presents for little kids in the Christmas season. And as always, I hope you'll join me in the next episode and beyond. But in the meantime, go dig a little bit deeper into the Word. And remember, in Christ, in Him, the Lord has set us free and put our feet into a broad and spacious place. Psalm 31:8 states, "You have not given me into the hands of the enemy, but have put my feet in a spacious place." And that phrase, a spacious place, is the Hebrew word bamerhat. And the Word of God itself is also a huge and spacious place, a place just waiting to be explored. So let's go exploring. If you like what you heard and you get a chance, please rate, like, and subscribe, or share this episode with your friends. For more information about BammerHab, go to www.sdgmorgan.com or visit the BammerHab Substack page. A special thanks to my friend Aaron Woodard for the graphic design of the show. Also, don't forget to check out this episode's show notes below.